5 o'clock. Let's get going. It's Watch Me Work. We've been doing this show for like 15 years, maybe more. We sit together and we work together. And then I invite you to ask questions about your work and your creative process. And that's all there is to it. We do it the same way every Monday. And if you have questions about your work and your creative process, the folks at New Work Development will tell you how to ask that question, please.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It's good to see you. If you have a question, at the bottom of your screen, there's a react button. If you click on it, it'll say raise hand. Feel free to raise your hand. At this point, you'll be able to unmute yourself and you can ask your question to SLP. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harris. Well, here we go. It's we're gonna work together for 20 minutes. Here we go. Okay, it has been 20 minutes. And now's the time when we talk to you about your work and your creative process. If anybody has a question.
And just as a friendly reminder, if you click the react button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you can use the raise hand function to get a nice queue going. David.
David B. Dale.
Hey, David, how are you?
Wonderful, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm here.
I'm in a sharing mood. I feel the need to express what a joy and a privilege it is to write plays. I mean, we're playing. This is play. It's play. I know we think of it as work, but it is play. I don't know how everybody else works, but I just start typing and see who comes out to play. And it is such a blast. I mean, it's also painful confronting my own truths and worrying about whether I'm good enough to share what I believe with any kind of eloquence. Um, it feels kind of like self-acupuncture.
Oh,
Yeah, you stick needles in, you figure out where whatever part of the body reacts to that.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
You do
Anyway, I'm working.
you do self-acupuncture?
No, I never did it
Oh,
physically.
okay. I've heard, yeah, okay.
Fun idea though. I'm going to have somebody do it someday in some play or other. Anyway, I'm working on a new play and I have absolutely no idea where it's going. And I find that just so thrilling. I just wanted to say so. I've lived my whole life without much of a plan, and that's been fun. And I don't see any reason to plan my stories more than just a few words ahead. So I'm wondering, does that work for anybody else, or do you have to do you have to do others of us, or do you, Susan, have
I,
to have a
I
plan?
think this is a deal, David. What works for you is what works for you.
Well,
That's the wonderful thing about what we do. If
yeah.
it works for you, then that's a great thing that works for you. And I would not, haven't really, put my way of doing things on other people. Um, so I think it's fantastic. Congratulations and more power to you and more joy. It sounds like you have such a joyous writing practice. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a treat. I'm glad to be here to share it with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thanks for sharing. We're gonna go over to Ronnie now. Hi, Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie.
Hi. So this is my first time here, so I'm sorry. I hope I don't take too much of your time. But I guess so I've been working on this show, and I already have the pilot written and some of the second episode. And I guess the advice that I kind of wanted to ask about was that I'm having now this struggle between trying to find this like balance, I guess, between and actually, David, your sentiment was really interesting to hear because I was about to ask, like, I don't know which, I feel like I'm getting a lot of urges to either try and stop and like figure out this world and like the whole arc of what I'm trying to make, or like follow my urges to write the ideas as they're coming. And I don't know, like, I guess I wanted thoughts on like what might be the most helpful because I think I'm starting to get like bounce around a lot in a way that I don't know if there's like a better way to steer the ship. I don't know.
Well, no, it depends. If you say, Ronnie, that's a great question. If you have if you are a bus driver, right? And you drive a Greyhound bus and you just feel like driving. You get on your bus and you just drive. That's fun and you're supported in that desire, then I say go for it. If you're a Greyhound bus driver who has to be in, Milwaukee by tomorrow at 7 p.m., I would say you need to have a different set of guidelines, right?
Hmm.
So it depends. So you say you're writing, it sounds like a television show. Is that you said you have the
Yeah.
pilot? Yeah, it depends on who you're writing it for. If you're writing it for yourself, follow your urges, have fun, go for it. If you're writing it for a producing entity, have fun, but maybe take in consideration that they might be paying you and needing it at a certain time and in a certain timely manner. So I would say, try to be a little bit collaborative with them if you're getting paid for a job. That's the way I do it. Um, but your urges are very important, and your artistic urges are very important. I just say when you're on the job, keep in mind that you're on the job. That's my, like, yeah. Does that make sense to what you're doing?
It does. And for context, I'm not getting paid for this. This is all just for fun. I'm just
Oh, then go for it and do your thing. Then go for it and do your thing. If there's nobody sort of like looking at you saying, okay, Ronnie, we need the Bible by, this time next week, then just have a good time with it. And when there is somebody who says, Ronnie, we need the Bible by this time next week, still have a good time with it. Just,
Yeah.
do your best to turn in what they need, so you can
Thank
get your work made. That's all,
Mhm.
Okay. That's congratulations. Have a good time. Have a good time. I think I said last week, maybe in Watch Me Work, that, we try to stay as close as we can to the fun of things. And we try to stay as close as we can to the fun. Even if it's a serious subject, we try to stay as close as we can to the joy of it, the fun of it. Because you can have fun even when you're writing something that's on a serious topic,
Yeah.
So
Thank
yay,
you.
good for you. Good for you. Keep writing. Right on, girl. Right on, Ronnie.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thanks for your question. Hi, Nadira. Feel free to lower your hand and ask your question.
Hey, Nadira.
Is it unmuted?
Yep, you're unmuted. I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, now you're muted again. Oh. Now you're good. Now start talking.
I'm good?
Please.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
I can hear you.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's
First
perfect.
off, thank you for like creating the space and having the space. It's my first time being on Zoom, but I've loved like watching it and streaming it, and I always
Wow.
get something from it, so it's been great. My question is, what to do, or any advice that you would have if you have like, you find yourself having a character that's becoming too much like you or too much of yourself within the character, and that's not my intention with what I'm writing or working on.
Uh-huh.
But it is about like a particular or specific experience that I've had, but this one character has got me kind of like stuck because it feels like it's just becoming me, and that's not what I want.
That's not what you want. Right, right. Yeah, because that's a great question. I mean, so many of our characters are just versions of ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Okay. But if it's and that's okay. And if it's not okay, then we can do things to make them different. We could change change things about them, change their chronological age, change their gender, change their hair color, change where they live, change what they do for a job. You know what I mean? Change some things about them, that might just make you think like, no, that's not me. That's somebody else who's kind of like me, but they're really not, you know? But really there's nothing wrong with writing a character that's a lot like you. But if you want to change it, just throw yourself, it's like you put some different, like put yourself in a disguise, put your character in a disguise, and in a way that you wouldn't recognize yourself. You
That's a
know?
good one. Yeah.
Um, and remind yourself, just keep telling every time, say, oh, that's just like you. Say, no, it's not. It's so different from me. It's a mind game.
I
It's
love
really
it.
it's really a mind game you have to play with yourself.
Uh-huh.
Because ultimately, like, all your characters are like you, aren't they?
Yeah. And yes, good and bad. Yeah.
Exactly. Good and bad. Good and bad. And the main thing to do is to just keep working, keep
Yeah.
getting the writing done, right?
Yeah.
So
All right. Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you. Thank you, Nadira.
Thank you, Nadira.
Thanks.
Hi, Lou. Thanks for
Hey, Lou.
coming.
Hi. Hey, SLP. Hi, everyone. Great to see you.
Hey.
Hi. Um, Two quick things. Hopefully they'll be quick. One, I wanted to check in. You gave me some advice a couple weeks ago. I asked a question about when you're writing about the past, where you are in the present. And
Right.
I just did a trip to do some research to kind of, I'm working on a memoir to put myself back in 20 years to a physical location. I went to Portland, Oregon, where part of the book
Oh,
takes place.
oh
But
wow.
I just couldn't, I was writing and writing, and I just couldn't find the colors in the sky, and I couldn't find the streets. And I was like, I got to get there. So I went there for a little short trip, and I thought of that, your advice, the whole time I was there. And I found it to be so helpful on the ground because I ended up having like a relationship with 20-year ago me and present day me. And it was actually kind of, it was really cool. It was really cool. And now I've been home about a week, and where I was stuck and when I took the trip is like, I found it. I found it. So I wanted to say thank
Oh,
you.
congratulations.
Thank you. It was
I'm
really
so happy
exciting.
for you. Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, it was really, really
Oh.
cool. And I think if I hadn't had that advice and I'd done that trip, I might have had a different experience, but I kept feeling like it was welcoming and like
Mhm.
a party. It was like, we're all here, the new parts, the old, it just felt really, really cool. So this actually leads me to my question for today. So of course I have to have a problem because this is how I operate. So my problem today is, when I was there, I wrote really out of the ordinary for me, which was I took a notebook and I wrote maybe 50 pages of kind of like memories and sketches. And generally when I write, I'm very tight and I sort of like, I don't know, talk about however you do it, it's how you do it, but I tend to be very like building on little blocks, and now I have all this material and I'm kind of drowning in it. And I guess I just wanted to ask, like, when you have lots of disparate impressions, images, notes, like, is there any way to kind of funnel them or streamline? Like, I feel a little lost in them all. I mean, I'll figure it out, but I just thought I'd ask you in your
Yeah. I'll suggest, I mean, it's interesting. Might the 20 years ago you have been more expansive and less, interesting, right? I mean, that was you back then, and you've gotten more organized.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever, I mean, you've improved, but it's interesting that like you encounter your other stuff. I can think of three things. Maybe they'll be helpful. One, you said you wrote a lot of notes. Is that correct?
Correct. In a
So
notebook.
could you type these up?
I can, and I could, yes.
That's number one. Two, which lean toward the other thing. You said you're drowning and you feel like you're so lost. So type them up, number one, to make sure that the other two don't happen, except you're going to try to make them happen. Drown and get lost.
Can I tattoo that
Yeah.
to my face?
Because you're gonna type them up, which is gonna give you structure, right? So it's not, you're
Yeah.
not really gonna drown. I'm not saying stick your head into the toilet and don't come up. I'm not saying that. Okay, drown. So you're just gonna type them up. It's gonna give you structure, and then you're gonna go for drowning, which means that you're gonna learn how to breathe underwater, which maybe you knew how to do when 20 years ago. And then you're gonna go and get lost, which means that you're gonna find a path that you think that you lost actually 20 years ago. So I'm just making this shit up. I don't know, but if I were you and I did that, then I'd try that.
That's super helpful.
And I mean, we've had conversation for years now, Lou. So, I'm just saying, like, it's not going to be painful or hurtful or dangerous or anything. It's just going to feel like, oh my God.
Yeah. It feels like, oh my God, but I've delivered 2 chunks of this book to my editor. This is the third I'm working on now, and it's coming out differently, and it makes so much sense because the material is about a different, to your point, like who I was at this time. And I think that's great advice. Like, just kind of approach it. I was drowning and I was lost in this time that I'm writing about. So maybe to be drowning and lost will make the work better because it'll feel like the time that I was in.
Yes.
So.
My child is called, yes. To be drowning and lost, yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay. This is really helpful. Thank you as always, SLP. I'll report back.
Oh,
I'm so
please
grateful.
do. Please
Thank
do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Thanks for coming through. Hi,
That
Charlie.
was rhyme. Okay, Harris, you're rhyming
I
now.
didn't actually see it coming,
Yeah,
and then
you
it
did.
did. But anyways, hi, Charlie. How you doing?
Doing well,
Hey,
Harris.
Charlie.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. Hey, SLP. Nice
Hey.
to be here. Nadira's question brought up something for me. So talking about, I've definitely grappled at times with characters and trying to make them not me, and
Mm-hmm.
those challenges. And I have ways about that. But the thing that it brought up is I often find myself these characters may be doing something that aren't me or may physically not be me. But the challenge I have sometimes is making them sound like when they talk, they don't talk like me. And so I have, some things I do to try to help with that. But it's a challenge for me. I'm curious if you have any suggestions on how to find different vocal patterns, ways of expressing, ways of talking that aren't me.
Sure, sure. And again, understand that all your characters are you. So to make you think that it's not really you talking.
Right, right.
I mean, unless you're doing like documentary stuff. So do you do you like math, Charlie?
Too much. Yes.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. Well,
Wow.
okay. Well, I know like 3 things in math. So I'm going to say the one of the 3 things I know. Geometry. 2 points make a line. I think I might have said this on here already. 2 points make a line. So you take where your character is, right? And then where they want to go. So point number 1 is where they are. Point number 2 is where they want to go, right? 2 points. Can I do it like this? That doesn't work. Right? Anyway, 2 points. Make a line. Make a line of dialogue. So you take your character, where they are, where they start out, and then you figure out where they want to go. And that's going to give you the lines of dialogue. Now, where they start out is like where they're from, right? I mean, where they start out in the play or the novel or whatever, but also where they're from. Like if they're from, Brooklyn Heights, if they're from Brooklyn, okay, get more specific. If they're from Brooklyn Heights, that's different from being from, say, Bed-Stuy 1975, right? Not Bed-Stuy now, Bed-Stuy 1975, right? So that's point number 1. They speak a different way. They might have a different education. They might have a different job, things like that. And then where they want to go is going to give you their desire, which is going to give you their lines of dialogue. That's math. It works. It really works.
Okay. Maybe I'm just not hearing it right.
Uh-oh. Should I say it again?
Or maybe I didn't ask it right. And maybe you're giving me the exact right answer, and my skull is too thick. That's always a possibility.
Or all of the above.
Well, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah. But how do I help find that language? I mean, I do some things like I will write some dialogue and then I'll find somebody who grew up in a different part of the world or is older or younger and sometimes sort of say, how would you say this? Like, what words would you use? And it's less about, maybe it should be more about, but less about the challenge of what they're trying to communicate and more like how they would communicate it.
But it's, Charlie, it's all of a piece. What they're trying to communicate and how they're trying to communicate are intertwined. It's not a separate out. Just like I was talking to my NYU students today, and they were like, I have these great characters. Now I just have to find a plot. It's like, no, plot and character are intertwined. We think of them as separate, they're intertwined. So what a character says and what they want and what they're trying to communicate, it's all one thing. And that's where you really start listening. If you listen to people, like someone from Bed-Stuy 1976 who wants to go to India on a retreat, might say it differently from someone in Brooklyn Heights in 2025 who wants to go to Brooklyn on a spiritual retreat. Do you see what I mean? They're just different people. They have different desires. They have different backgrounds. That's how I do it.
Thank you.
You're
I will
welcome.
cogitate on all of that.
Welcome.
Thank
Just
you.
tune into people, tune into people. People speak passionately and in a variety of beautiful ways. That's
Yeah.
all.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, thank you. If anyone else has a question, just a reminder, the react button is at the bottom of your screen, or you can just let us know, or honestly, at this point, you might be able to just say it. We don't have a queue, so. But yeah, thanks.
Is it funny? Charlie's question again. I once ran into I know a writer who writes their plays from their point of view and their voice, and then hires actors who are those people and gets them to help them rewrite the play. And they're very proud of this fact. And I said, wow, that's one way to do it, not the way I do it. So I just try to listen in really intently to different kinds of people and try to take their ways of speaking into my own person and then fashion it that way. But some writers just hire actors who are like, if they need, like one person, yeah, I needed an older Black woman as this part. So I just hired one and I just copied down what she said. That's a way. That's a way to do it. Yeah, I hear you. But it is done. It is done. But I love to kind of take in the person and try to figure out how they might speak based on my own experience, So,
Thanks.
is that Carol? Did I see Carol? Is that Carol? Can you unmute your? I just want to say hi. How are you? I know. Look, I have Chris. You're not. It's okay. Can you unmute your? I just want to say hi. It's tricky with iPads. It's a little trickier to find the.
In all these years, I still can't do it.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? You
I'm
look
well. Thank you. How was your writing going?
It's going well. I write every day,
I know.
something,
It's always going really
forever and
well.
ever.
Yeah,
Notebooks full, and then I do nothing with it, of course.
Well, you still write. You started writing. I mean, you've written so many books, but you started writing songs or something, didn't you? Last time we spoke.
I think, yeah, I did for a while.
Uh-huh.
And what? Poetry. And poetry.
Yeah,
I'm writing poetry. Things
Fantastic.
coming out in poetry these days. But I just wait for it to tell me what it is.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Thanks. You look wonderful, sweetie. It's
Oh,
always
thank you.
good to
So
see you.
Great to see you. Now, Carol, we used to hang out when we used to do Watch Me Work live in the lobby of the Public Theater and had
Right.
to yell our questions and answers over the ice machine that's down in the middle of the
Remember-
lobby. Yeah, those were the days.
They were really so much fun.
Yeah.
When things could be in person. Remember that? When
Yeah.
people actually shook hands and it was hands.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a while ago now.
So good to see you. You look great.
Good to see you too, hon. So who's the next question? Who do you think, Harris? Who's the next?
The next in line is Crystal. Hi, Crystal.
Hey,
Hi,
Crystal.
Thank you. And I remember us meeting in person and shouting, and it was great. Hi, Suzan-Lori. I have just a very quick question about when submitting to like festivals and things like that. I have a lot of trouble with writing synopsis. Especially with like certain plays that like I haven't really like I feel like I certain plays I have like a log line and I have like
Okay.
it comes easier.
Okay.
But this, the one I was working on last year, I'm submitting it to the Playwrights Realm, and they want a synopsis, but for some reason it's supposed to be like 100 words, and I'm like, how do I put in 100 words everything that happens without giving too much away? Or do I give the main plots away? And there are so many characters. It's like I was writing it as I was writing it. I was like, this isn't gonna work. So I just wanted to know if you had any pointers for an effective
Yeah,
drawing.
yeah. Yeah, it's a great question, Crystal. And it's tricky when you have a lot of characters and you have 100 words. You know, that's very, very tricky. Go for the biggest picture. Like, I mean, you've done log lines and all that. Do you have a log line for this play?
Not for this play.
Okay, okay. Think of, I mean, think of the biggest plot points, the most important characters, the most specific resolution. So this is a story about a woman named Mary, and she had this little lamb, and its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere she went, the lamb was sure to go, even to the moon. There they are right now. Do you see what I mean? I mean, just think of the biggest possible picture. The smaller characters, the smaller characters, leave them out for now. You might put a line in there saying this is a play with however many characters. It's big and expansive. It's an epic journey, but it really tells the story of, and tell your main character story,
Okay.
Okay. And think of, if you have, if you are a fan of any big sweeping epic books like Dickens, for example, Charles Dickens, you might, even if you're not a fan, you can go, I'm looking for you can go to the library or go to the Strand or even go to Amazon, but anyway, Amazon, and you click on the synopsis, read the synopsis of Great Expectations or Bleak House or the synopsis of Moby Dick, right? Those are big ass books, and very beautifully written books, and have been around for a long time and endured. Also read the synopsis of Hamlet, King Lear, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And see how they sort of small it up and make it very digestible and easy to communicate,
Yeah, totally. Okay.
Yeah, just copy what they did.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's good. Good question. Good question.
Thank you, Crystal. Hi, Kimmy. Thanks for coming. How are you?
Hi, Harris. Hi,
Good to
thank
see
you.
you.
Hi,
Hi,
us up
good to see
today.
you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
And I'm glad you're feeling better, Crystal. You were sick last week. I'm glad you're feeling better. It's nice to see you. So Suzan-Lori, I have plays and I'm working on a screenplay and I have a pilot, and I like my husband, but I don't want him to posthumously make out on my work. Like when I'm dead, he sells everything. So how can I get
Okay.
I mean, he's nice, but he's got his own job.
Right.
And I'm struggling to, how do I get my stuff out there without me producing everything? Like, how do you get, what's the word I'm looking for? Representation. Because a lot of scripts need to be not unsolicited scripts, right? It has to be presented something. Do you need agents? How do you go about getting your stuff out there?
Yeah, a lot of times you have to send your work to agents and hope that they're interested, or you do a lot of self-producing and agents might come,
Okay.
or their assistants might come and see your work and then recommend you to the agents.
Okay.
so a lot of it is still self-producing. I mean, I still self-produce some projects, you know, because
Okay.
it's there's no shame in it. There's nothing bad about it. It's just a way that I know it's going to get out there in the timely fashion that I want it to get out there, in the way I want it to get out there. So there's nothing wrong with that. The question maybe is, how do you get good representation?
Oh yeah, that's a good
You know
question.
what I mean? It's like Kimmy, you know, you're married, you're a happily married woman. If someone said to you, how do I find a husband? You'd be like,
Well,
right?
I met
How do you-
mine in the fourth grade, so
but how do you find a wonderful husband? You know, is more the question. How do you find a wonderful agent? How do you find a good agent who's really going to represent you? And that's the tricky thing. I think the answer to that is keep self-producing. It sounds weird and awful, but there's nothing wrong with it if you're steady at it. It's worse really if you have an agent and they're not representing you. They'll just say sure, 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 and then they're not really sending your stuff out there. So you got to show some promise, some like energy
okay.
before they get interested. And that's, you know, unfortunately, that's really how it is these days. Because agents are, you know, they're like everybody. They or you know, they don't run around anymore like those old movies. You know, they're pounding the pavement. They don't pound the pavement anymore.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you're lucky if they answer the phone.
Right.
If someone calls their office looking for you, you're lucky if they will call you. And,
Right.
you know, so just know that that's the world, you know.
Well, I appreciate that because that was the only way that I could figure out how to do it, was produce it myself. And I'm like, there must be another way. No, there's not.
Yeah. You just keep at it. You keep doing your work. You invite people, you invite people, you invite people. You keep doing your work. You keep doing your work. You keep writing, you keep writing. You invite people, you invite people. I mean, I still self-produce. There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimmy. Anyone has any lingering questions?
Are you in yes, Harris, are you in a sauna or?
I'm in one of the two listening booths that are sort of offered by the public because my colleague is in the office and I didn't.
Okay. It looks like you're in like some kind of spa
It
situation.
does. It looks like very warm.
It does. It does. It does. I'm like, oh, okay. That was my question for the week.
Hi, Emmanuel. You can close us out with your question.
Hi, this is not a question. This is just an update on last week. I was very overwhelmed and you said just start, and I started. So that's all. So that's very exciting. It's like, oh, I don't really, anyway, it's like usually the writing will happen before I decide to do the writing. It'll be like, this is what I need to, okay, and I'll start writing. I'll be like, oh, this needs to come out of my body right now. But this is like backwards in the sense of like, I want to write this thing, and then I was like, how? So you said just start, and I started, and I did a little reading in my reading group yesterday. So it's very messy and it's all over the place, but it's, you know, it's editable in any case. So
yes, congratulations. How do you feel? It seems like you feel okay about it. What, you know, how do you feel?
I feel better now that I've started. I'm not proud of it yet. It's so messy. Like it's very but I feel like it started. Now I have the momentum and the courage to just do it now. To be like, okay, right, get to work now. Like whereas before I was like kind of stuck behind the starting line. And so now I'm like, okay, in work mode. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna probably throw all these pages out, but that's okay. Now I'm started. Let's go. So Anyway, that's all update, and thank you so much.
That's a
for-
great update. It's a very uplifting update. And it's the way it always is. You just gotta throw yourself out there, throw yourself into it, and keep working, and the spirit will never fail you.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
the spirit is a very good one. It's like the spirit will be there. I'm like, yes, she was. Here we go.
Cool, right? Very cool. Well done. How wonderful. Next week we have there's a national holiday. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're off next week for President's Day, and then we're
President-
back the 24th, I think.
back on
But
the
Zoe,
yeah,
correct
yeah,
me if
yeah.
I'm wrong.
We're
Yeah.
back on the 24th, yes? Okay. Okay. Well,
Well, take care, everyone. Thank you
yeah.
for coming.
We'll see you
Bye.
on the 24th.
Yes.
Okay. Bye. Thank you. Bye.